everybody? Welcome to TopFCTV. We are live with another video. We are live with another uh, review, I guess you can say, of yesterday, what happened yesterday in the Champions League. And also, of course, we're going to talk maybe a little bit on what's happening or what's going to happen this weekend. Today is Thursday, early in the morning in the United States of America, and well, 6 a.m. in the United States where I'm at. In the UK, it's midday, it's half day over there. So shout out to everybody in the motherland that more than likely will be joining us. Of course, leave us your comments. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what your thoughts are on these matches, on these topics that we're going to talk about today. Newcastle out. Did Eddie Howe bottle it? Manchester City or Arsenal for the Champions League? Who are the favorites? We're going to chat a little bit, and I definitely want to know your opinion on what's happening. Jessica is with me today here. Jessica Noble. Of course, you can be a moderator. Give me just a second, and I'll make you one. I appreciate you for coming on. Please comment, and we can definitely talk about what the biggest stories of football are right now. Let me just fix my camera. I'm gonna fix uh my my stuff, and there we go. Um, man, we got to talk about we got to talk about this match in particular. Unfortunately for me, I'm a Newcastle fan. Um, Newcastle lost, and we couldn't keep it. We couldn't get it done. That's just as simple as that. It is unfortunate, and at the end of the day, we have to move on. Newcastle has to move on. See, the thing is with Newcastle, these are just what some people might call growing pains. This is just an era or a moment to where you have to learn from these mistakes. I know it doesn't seem like at this moment in time, it doesn't seem like um, people don't care about this, and a lot of people are going to call us castle, and they're going to throw in the banter, and that's, of course, hey, listen, I understand. um I understand, but regardless, it is what it is. You know what I mean? You can't go crazy and say life is over because you lost in the Champions League. I will say though, that I will say that most people don't remember this, won't remember this, but that one call, that one play in the Paris Saint-Germain game has cost you. Ultimately has cost you. You know, that's one point, I guess you can say. That's one reasoning as to why it cost you not to qualify. It cost Newcastle that PSG, that handball, that non-call, that call that shouldn't have been called, that error, that mistake. I will say mistake because I don't know, if there's corruption behind that. Regardless, that's one of the reasons why. But I will also say this: in yesterday's match, Eddie Howe made an experienced mistake of, after being 1-0 up, going forward, keep attacking when you could have just sit back, you could have just chilled, and that would have probably been more, helpful for Newcastle to win this match. And at the end of the day, we just don't know, right? We don't know what could have happened afterwards. But regardless, that's what I think. I think if you get the result, why are you going forward? Why are you attacking when it's not necessary yet? And so that's my thought. Listen, big up everybody in the chat. Big up everybody that's been active right now. Let me put my standard comments on there. I appreciate you for coming on. Of course, smash the like button. We got a few things to talk about. English teams right now are still playing. Arsenal and Manchester City are still in the Champions League. Who are those teams? Who of those teams are going to uh be protagonists? Who of those teams are going to still uh have a chance to fight? A lot of people count Arsenal out. I don't know, man. I don't think that's proper. I don't think that's proper. I think that you need to still keep them in consideration for for what's to come in the UEFA Champions League. Actually, they have been smashing their group, and you know what I'm saying. Like Manchester City in their group, they don't have they don't have they didn't have really big teams to play with or a big competition. You know, they won every single match, and ultimately it was an easier group for Manchester City. So come on, man. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this Arsenal or City. Who are the favorites and why are the favorites? And of course, let's talk a little bit. Give me your opinion on the Newcastle um, AC Milan deal. For a moment there, it it looked like history was going to be made, that they were going to advance to the next phase. At the end of the day, it just wasn't enough. When it comes to the lineup, though, it is what it is. Some people would have said that they would have liked to see Longstaff from the beginning. I like when Callum Wilson came on. You know what I mean? So I don't have a problem with what Eddie Howe did as far as the lineup, but I just do have a problem with the attacking the when you were winning this match. You were winning this match. So I don't think there was a necessary there was a need to keep going forward nonstop if it wasn't needed. You had the goal. You were one up. And to be honest with you, in the other match, for a moment, Dortmund was beating PSG, and then PSG scored. They also scored a goal that was taken off because he was offside, Mbappe. And so at the end of the day, it was a draw. And so even with that draw, if you would have done a little bit of game management, still would have qualified. You still would have qualified. So that's one of the things that he's going to have to learn from. Now, a lot of people say, should he? Is he good enough? Is Eddie Howe good enough? Is he going to, um, you know, is he going to be one of those managers that can win you tournaments in the long run for Newcastle? And to be fair with you, I just don't know, right? I mean, I just don't know. It's one of those things that you just need to keep on trying them. I guess will say this though, like even though it's a new project, and some people say give him one more season. Um, I will say this: you need to really try hard, Eddie Howe and Newcastle all together, to win the Carabao Cup or maybe the FA Cup. Well, one of the cups, Newcastle needs to win it. They need to make a statement on a particular trophy, because if there's Newcastle haven't won a trophy in over 50 plus years. And I think that if you are a fan of this club, you need to start winning trophies, because if not, or some type of trophy, you know what I'm saying? Because if not, then you know what I mean. I don't know, to make the next step. You probably need to go to a different manager. Not this season. Maybe you give him another season, but that's just where it's going to be, right? And so, and ultimately as well, ultimately, you need to get better players, a big, longer depth, better players, players that can perform well, players that other teams compete for, players that that are wanted. That's the type of players that Newcastle need to start getting, not players that are backups, not players that are not known, not players that nobody cares about. You need to get these players that are really, really good. And when Newcastle does that, then they're going to start being able to capitalize in, because obviously this European football, Premier League, local cup, all that stuff it was really just too much. Also, it was just too much for Newcastle at this point, and that's what I think that the mistake was made in a few games where Eddie Howe just didn't rotate. At the end of the day, you just have to rotate regardless of if you can't use this tired, I'm fatigued type excuse every time that you're on the pitch. Every time you go on the pitch and you lose, you're tired. You can't be using that excuse. That's not, you know what I mean? That might work 1 game, 2 games, but that can't be the exact same excuse as to why you lose every single match. You see what I'm saying? So I think that, yeah, you're tired. Well, then make the adjustments to fix that. You know what I mean? Make the adjustments to fix that. Put Lewis Hall in the match. Put him on. Why don't you put him on? I never understand that. You know, you got to make the certain changes uh, for your team to succeed. You know what I mean? You can't be using the same excuse over and over and over. Therefore, and that's why I always say this. I get that you're tired. I get that you don't have your lineup, your squad is not as deep, but you still have players on the bench. You still have players. You still have professional players. So if you're so tired, then put these guys on. The most important match is going to be in the Champions League, right? Against AC Milan. Yesterday was one. That was the one. So rest players before. That way people are ready for this match yesterday. But he didn't do that. He kept playing the same guys week after week, not even week, like every 3 days almost. That's what Newcastle have been playing. So you know what I mean. That was the biggest mistake by Eddie Howe, and that's the inexperience. He thought that these guys were capable of playing every 3 days, and that's not the case. You know what I mean. You have to be able to do this management, this time management on point every match. And the other mistake that he made clearly was when you were 1-0 up, you try to keep attacking when you didn't have to. You had the score. You were up 1-0. You need to be smarter. You need to be smarter than that. And the inexperience was just too much. Now, if you look at the stats, the statistics, just look at the attack momentum here on the left side. The attack momentum all for Newcastle. The thing is, most people will tell you. I've been talking to a lot of Serie A guys, and most people will tell you this AC Milan team is not good. They're not good. So they can't understand why Newcastle lost to this team. Well, I can understand it because at the end of the day, you're still playing against professional players, even though their team is not that good. So if you're gonna leave their spaces open and you're gonna give them a shot, gonna give them an opportunity to score. These are professional players. Eventually, they will score. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, something will happen. And I mean, if you remember, AC Milan yesterday had a few opportunities on the counter attack. A few hit the post, but because we were so open, because Newcastle was just so open in the back that every time those guys are fast, so every time they get the ball, they have the open space, they would just run, and we couldn't catch them up. You know, in the defensive line too, man. One player, Jamal Lascelles, he was the captain of this team. I don't know why he is the captain of this team. To be honest with you, it should be Kieran Trippier. That's one mistake right there. Lascelles shouldn't be the captain of this team whatsoever. Regardless, he was yesterday, and he played really, really bad. He played really, really bad. Anthony Gordon wasn't in his day. Miguel Almiron wasn't good. Kellen Wilson here he doesn't have a good score, but I thought he played decent. I thought he played decent. Bruno Guimaraes, of course, he's always on point. Joe Linton, of course, as well. Nice shot, nice goal. He really just physical, strong, and he was just terrific. Valentino Livramento, okay. Again, to be in the back line, didn't perform as good as anybody would like to. And yeah, I mean, it was just not a good match. You know what I mean? Even though, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't a good match to a certain extent because to be fair with you, we played better than Milan. They just capitalized on our mistakes. And that's what, you know what I mean, we always have an issue with because if we would have been smarter, if Newcastle would have been smarter than just going gun ho and attacking nonstop, then maybe it would have been a different situation. Maybe, just maybe. Um, but look, it is what it is. Well, I will have, if you are a Newcastle fan, I will have the post match reaction today later on at 10 p.m. at night in the UK, 4 p.m. here in the United States Central Time. I will be live, hopefully with a panel analyzing what's happened in yesterday's match in depth, and hopefully we'll have Newcastle fans come on and have their say as to what happened yesterday in that match. For now, we're gonna move on to the next match, not next match per se, but we're gonna move on to to Arsenal. Also, let's see. Let me try to see here. Let me try to find these highlights because we gotta talk. We gotta talk about one match in particular. We gotta talk about one match in particular, and that is not match. I mean, I want to know what Arsenal versus Manchester City. They're the teams that are going into to the next phase from England, and I want to know, why, who is favorites here? Listen, and I know the question is kind of vague because regardless, we know that Manchester City have proven themselves to be better when it comes to um, when it comes to the Champions League. So yeah, we can say that out of the two, Manchester City have a better shot of going to the next round, but or eliminated. Yeah, we don't know yet who they're going to play. By the way, the draw is going to be on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so that you just keep in mind. But I will say this. So yeah, out of the two, Manchester City or Arsenal, it's going to be Manchester City that are the favorites to continue to move on. But why do Arsenal don't really get um talked about when it comes to, yeah, they could move on. They could get out of the 16 round. They could get to the semifinals maybe. Nobody expected Inter Milan or Milan last season to get to the semifinals. Let's be honest with you. Nobody. I mean, we can't be lying to ourselves. Nobody expected Milan or Inter Milan to get to the semifinals, and they got there, right? Why couldn't that be one of those seasons for Arsenal? 13 points. They clearly, the last game, they didn't even really make a really big effort to win that match because they put mostly secondary lineup in the last match against PSV away. They're prioritizing the Premier League, knowing that they're already qualified first in their group. So nice comment right there by P Morton, man. I appreciate you coming on, brother. Please smash the like button. I appreciate you. Nice welcome. P Morton has been with me yesterday. We were talking about football, man. That's nice. So yeah, keep on commenting. Arsenal is deep but young. Man City has the experience and they're deep. But Man City, they're not as great as last season. Or maybe you think different. But to be fair with you, let me if we go to the group of Manchester City, there's something that's very, very deceiving. Right here, this is the group because they got 18 points. I don't think it's ever been done, right? To win every single match, I don't think it's ever been done. Or there's some type of record, right? 11 goal difference. That's amazing. But you're playing against Leipzig, who are a decent team, but not one of the greats in Europe. Young Boys and Red Star. And in all these matches, if I'm not mistaken, actually I can go back. Look at this. Yesterday against Red Star, 3-2. You let Red Star score on you twice. You let Leipzig score on you twice. You let Young Boys, you didn't let Young Boys score. Okay, they got a red card, 3-0. That was an easy way. You let Young Boys on this one score on you once. You let Leipzig score on you once. You let Red Star score on you once in the first match. I remember that. And if I'm not mistaken, all these matches that they got scored on first. They had to come back from behind. If I'm not mistaken, definitely a few for sure. So, um, and now you say P Morton. Well, Man City already dropped a treble. They're rich. Yeah, no, and listen, props to them, right? I mean, they're a great team. they're a champion winning team. And if you take Guardiola's words into perspective, he said, to the questions of can you be better? You don't look as good as last season. All this stuff that we're talking about. He said, well, you can't be as good as last season. You won the treble. No team ever has won the treble back to back. No team ever has won four Premier Leagues in a row back to back. So yeah, you need to when you put that into perspective, yeah, 100%. You put it that way, of course. You know what I mean? It's never been done. But I would assume that Manchester City is not closing shop, not closing down after they won the treble. I'm assuming that they're still gonna try to keep winning and try to keep getting trophies. That's the only way their heritage is gonna grow later years down the line. So they still want to win. But like between Man City and Arsenal, 100%. I don't even think it's a debatable that who's better or who can you trust. 100%, P. 100%. You got to say that Manchester City are the favorites on this one. 100%. If these two play together, I mean, it wouldn't. Everybody would have Manchester City, but I do still see a little bit of reservation when people talk about Arsenal. Not you in particular. I'm saying when people talk about Arsenal, yeah, but they're not gonna get past the 16, the round of 16. Why not? You know what I mean? Again, I was bringing up the point of I was bringing up the point, Pete, of Milan and Inter Milan. I didn't hear too many people talking about they were going to get to the semifinals. You know what I mean? To me, they were a surprise. So just keep that into perspective. Now you say Man City already bagged the prom queen. They're kind of cruising right now. Oh yeah, 100%. And also, they don't have the same players as last season. Those important players. Well, first of all, Kevin De Bruyne is coming back, but haven't played yet. And then Gundogan is out. You know what I mean? It's gone. So that's not good at all for the team. And you have those situations where yeah, you got Rodri, a beautiful, beautiful footballer, but you know what I mean. The Gundogan is still missing. Who is that Gundogan? They're gonna get rid of Calvin Phillips. The way he scored the penalty yesterday was like this dude is out, is gone. More than likely, will go to Newcastle. So I'm talking about his midfielders. Yesterday, I was on a stream, and they were saying a Man City fan was saying that yeah, Calvin Phillips just was missed. He wasn't the guy for Pep or Manchester City. That we just didn't think about it. It wasn't a proper recruiting situation by Pep and the team, because he wasn't a player that Pep was going to use, and they still brought him in from Leeds. So yeah, I can agree with that to a certain extent, because I don't think that Calvin Phillips is a bad player. I just don't think that he fits in that playing style that Pep Guardiola. So they're missing that one midfielder, I'd say. And look, I've been saying this for a long time. It's just like I don't know if you're from the U.S., brother, but uh, we had that conversation in basketball all the time. When teams go and repeat, three-peat, they win championships back to back. You get tired and you play every single game until the very end, to the final, and win it or lose it, regardless. You're still playing so many games, so many minutes, and these guys are doing that. These guys, Manchester City is playing every single match they can play, especially last season. They played every single match they could play because they got to the finals and won, uh, you know, all those championships. So all those miles to me add up. You know what I mean? They add up. Nobody else got to go as far as they did in the Champions League, other than Inter Milan, but we don't play with them. They don't play with them. So Pete says mid-January, Man City is when they start really when they get really dangerous. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get that point. Um, but there's something I struggle with when it comes to that. I struggle with the fact that I don't think any team just. I don't really. I can't comprehend how any team just turns it on and off. To be fair with you, I think they want to win every match they can because these points in the Premier League they do count at the end. So I don't think they're just going to, uh, you know, playing lackadaisical just you know just because they can, and we'll start playing at the end. You know what I'm saying? I just don't necessarily that's the mindset. Um, but I do. But listen, I'm not here to say that Manchester City are worse than or Arsenal is better than City. No way whatsoever. But when it comes to the Premier League, I mean, to the Premier League, it's a whole different thing, right? You got other teams as well, not just Arsenal. I mean, you could argue that Liverpool is there for the taking as well, and other teams as well. Aston Villa's playing really great. Um, we'll see how Tottenham continue. We'll see how this Newcastle react to not being in the Champions League and having a little more breathing room for the Premier League. Um, and we'll see also how Manchester United and West Ham react to these next matches and all the way to the end, because I think that up to that is going to be, uh, uh, you know, the teams that are going to be fighting for the fourth, fifth, sixth, and then you got the three at top. I'm gonna move on from the Champions League, of course. You already know Newcastle was eliminated yesterday. Arsenal and Manchester City advance, and they're the ones. We'll see what happens in the draw in Monday. Monday is the draw. Obviously, could they play with each other? No, because they're both first, so they're not going to play with each other in the round of 16. Other than that, we'll see what happens. Europa League is today. West Ham United is going to play that there as well. If I'm not mistaken, Brighton in Liverpool as well. Um, right? Where's Brighton and where's Liverpool? Well, I know Liverpool's still in it, right? I mean, Brighton still has to play, so because this is the last, if I'm not mistaken, the last week of group stages. But let's go to the Premier League. That's our bread and butter. That's what we do. That's what we like to talk about. Um, P. Morton says Pep may unleash the Grealish. He's been a squad player for going on 3 years now. The one thing about Grealish is that, in my honest opinion, he just doesn't convince me. He doesn't convince me, man. I don't know something. And listen, and he's been a starter, right, for Pep for a long time. Um, and yes, Jessica, I added you as a moderator. Why? You can be a moderator. I did. Um, and Grealish, man, I don't know. It's just kind of weird because I feel like he is a guy that doesn't, he doesn't convince me as a footballer or a top footballer, but somehow or one way or another, he still manages to convince Pep. Um, it's one of those players that is to me is a fetish player by Pep. But hey, you know he's been part of the team. Now look, let's look at the table. Let's look at the table for the Premier League. Listen, this is our bread and butter. We have to talk about the English Premier League, the greatest league in the world at this moment in time. And look at the table: Liverpool first, Arsenal second, Aston Villa third, Manchester City fourth, Tottenham fifth, United sixth, Newcastle seventh, Brighton eighth. See, I didn't mention Brighton, so West Ham have dropped off right there. But to be fair with you, at this point in time, now looking at the table, I'm gonna go just up to Brighton and West Ham. Even though they're just 2 points behind Brighton, I'll leave them out of this conversation. They also got European football, so we'll see if I haven't looked at their group, but if they continue on, then it won't be as easy, right? It won't be as easy for them to compete on both. That's the bottom line, and they're not really doing that well in the Premier League. They beat Tottenham, but you know it was a normal. uh, It looked like Tottenham was better in that match. But regardless, we're gonna go up down to Brighton, the first eight, right here on your bracket. What the hell is this, man? I don't want to. I wanna. There we go. And not necessarily. I don't think that Brighton is going to be competing or Newcastle going to compete for the title. I think this is going to get these 8 teams are going to get divided into two. To be fair with you, Aston Villa is there in the fight, and they don't have European football. They don't have anything else going on other than Premier League. I mean, of course, they're going to have the FA Cup, and they're not in the Carabao Cup anymore. I don't think so. Let me go to the comment that P Morton said Grealish has been in and out. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Um, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City are the teams that people think and say they are going to be the title contenders. People don't talk about Aston Villa that way. Aston Villa have been performing well, but I think there's been a hype with Aston Villa, really, really uh, crazy hype. A lot of people in my group chat, per se, they were saying that Aston Villa is way better than Newcastle. I don't agree with that. Or some people might say that Tottenham is better than Newcastle. I don't agree with that either. And when you talk about football, it's not about Tottenham beating Newcastle the other day. It's not about because we beat Aston Villa as well in the beginning of the season. What does that mean? And also, Aston Villa don't have European football, unlike Newcastle playing every 3 days almost. So, and Tottenham don't have European football either. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely there are you got to put things into context here. 100%. And so, with that being said, Aston Villa is a really good team. They're really great at home, kind of like Newcastle. In a way, their form is not up to par with what their home form is. And so I think they've gotten points. I think that they still we'll see how they do with the other big teams coming on. But listen, I think more than ever, Liverpool and Arsenal are looking really good compared to Man City. Now again, like you said, Pete, you think that Man City is going to turn it on and take over. That could very well happen. But at the end of the day, it's about points. Right now, with 33, Manchester City, they're 4 behind Liverpool at this point. That's 2 games behind Liverpool. Put that into perspective. If Liverpool continues somewhat of a good form, winning one, tying another one, winning another one, winning another one. If they continue the way they're doing things now, there is really not much of a reason as to where they should drop from the second spot. Now being first, they could drop to second, but you know what I'm saying? Like if they continue just this form, we'll see. Like you right now, you're saying Liverpool and Klopp knows what it is. They're gonna stay on the gas as long as they can. Man City has had a bad habit if catching teams the last match day. Yeah. So I think that Liverpool is looking really dangerous at this point. 33 points. That's two games away from Manchester City, their biggest threat at this point. Um, Arsenal is a team that you got to respect. 36 points, and it's about and to be what's beneficial for Arsenal is not having the pressure to be in the top spot and having to win match after match after match, knowing that if you lose, it's like driving and the cop is right behind you. You know what I mean? The whole time you're like feel a little pressure. You got to stay on course. You can't swerve. You know what I mean? Type of deal. And I think with them maintaining at second, they're just 1 point away from. They're 1 point ahead of Aston Villa, so they might fluctuate from second to third. But they're gonna be right there. You know what I mean? They're gonna be right there. And if Arsenal can stay within that limit, they could at the end really make a run for it and try to win the title. Manchester City right now at 33 points, they still got to get some points. Let me look at the what the matches are looking like because that is actually very very important. And we're going to talk about the because to me there's the first 8 teams are going to get divided into two. And we're going to talk about the teams on the bottom of that a little bit. Um, so if you look at let's see. This is the match week right here. That's coming up. There we go. So you got who's Man City, Liverpool, Manchester. This is a big one. This weekend. Well, obviously, that's the to me English derby, Liverpool, Man United. Um, Even though in England, I don't think they look at it that way. It's not like Italy where you say the derby the Derby d'Italia is Juventus Inter, no matter what. In other countries as well, but in England, I think like you have like 30 derbies, man. You know what I'm saying? And you have derbies also by being in the same area, which is crazy. But yeah, yeah. I mean, like Everton, Liverpool. Like they have a derby forever, and it's become now a thing. It's been always been a thing, but I'm saying like when it comes to levels, there is no debate. You know what I mean? But just because they're in the same city, all of a sudden there's a derby. Yeah, not everywhere else. For the most part, it's not like that. Like Arsenal, Tottenham, with all due respect, there's a difference there. Um, but regardless, I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, Liverpool, Manchester United is a big, big deal, and not because it's because of the table too. Because if you look at this, Manchester United 6. If they get 3 points, they go to 30, and then and if Tottenham loses for some odd reason, they go to fifth, and that's European football. That's Europa League. So you see what I'm saying? And if Liverpool win, they go to 40 points. That's that's one. You know what I mean? That's a good lead. If Arsenal loses or whatever, if Man City lose for a reason, then that's a really good gap to fill. So I mean that would put you at three games away from City, and that's pretty decent. Um, so both of these teams, if you just look at the table, they need to win for their own purpose, not because Man City is fighting for the title, but at the end of the day, they still want to be in this European football, you know, top four, top six type style. So, uh, you know what I mean. So in both in their own purpose, they need to get points. Even though we already know that Manchester City or Manchester United are looking like they're going to lose this match. To be fair with you, Arsenal, Brighton. See, and this is why I'm dividing because I'm dividing. Look, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you, and I'm gonna say it right now before because I looked at the matchups, and this is gonna make my point. To me, it's Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City fighting for the first three spots. Aston Villa, Tottenham, Manchester United, Newcastle, and Brighton are going to fight for the next five spots, in my opinion. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. They're going to sort out right there. I don't think that Aston Villa is going to finish top three or even compete for the title, in my honest opinion. So it's going to be regardless because Man City and Aston Villa are right there. So I feel like City could just catch up to and pass Aston Villa, and again it would be a race between Liverpool, Arsenal, and City. So I think I'm going to divide those eight teams into two. The first three, Liverpool, Arsenal, City, and the order could change, of course. And then the next group is going to be Aston Villa, Tottenham United, Newcastle, Brighton. Your comment on that was I think Brighton is going to be finished. Is going to finish above Newcastle if Newcastle doesn't have a major injury January window. Okay, that's a good point right there. That's a good point. They need to get players 100%. So I agree with that to a certain extent. I agree with that. Brighton could finish above Newcastle. They got the same points right now, but 1 point behind Tottenham, and that's when there's a little break. Tottenham and United between Tottenham, United, Newcastle, and Brighton is 3 points away, 4 points from these guys. And so some people want to say, well, there's a gap right there. Well, it's just one match, right? It's one match. If Tottenham were to lose and Newcastle wins, then Newcastle goes to 1 point behind them, and they're still right there. So there's not much of a break right there. And so just keep that into perspective. Morton says Everton out here throw chopping folks 10 points deduction or not. Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. They're right down there. They would have been in the mix for that. Um, well, to be honest with you, they probably would be 10, ninth. But yeah, they shouldn't be down there. And listen, they're going to get up there. The teams that are going to get relegated are going to be Sheffield, Burnley, and Luton. It's just, it couldn't be any more clear or clearer. as to who's going to get relegated. To be fair with you, and you can see right there. Look at that, the gap nine. I mean, it's just the way it is. I don't know if before it has been as clear as to who's been going to get relegated. Uh, but let's look at the matchups. So in my idea of the group of the two groups up top, the Liverpool United is really key and important for those two. Arsenal Brighton as well, because Arsenal is fighting on the first three group of three, and Brighton fighting in the second group of fives that are in the other group. So these are direct. These are competitions. You have to win these matches if you want points. You know what I mean? If you want to climb up. In Aston Villa has the easiest match, one of the easiest match. They could continue on this nice run, beating Brentford, and that's why I think that is a little bit deceiving. Because Aston Villa eventually will be playing bigger teams. Now next week they have Sheffield United. That's another sort of easier match that they can win, and they could still make steps. So that's what Arsenal could actually finish. I mean, Aston Villa could actually finish first. Listen to this. Aston Villa could actually finish first by the end of the year because of the teams that they played. Liverpool plays Manchester United. At the end of the day, it's still a derby. It's still a hard match. And they also Liverpool plays Arsenal in the following week. So they could lose some points. And this is going to be next week. Liverpool Arsenal is going to be lethal because this is a direct clash. You know what I mean? A direct clash as to who makes it, who you know what I mean, for the number one spot. So that's going to be amazing. So if you look at Aston Villa on the next one, they have Manchester United. So they're a weaker team. Aston Villa is a favorite against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Let's be honest. Even though their away form is not the greatest, but you see what I'm saying? Like Aston Villa could finish the year first. That's one of the most craziest things ever. But don't let that fool you because ultimately they're still at the end of the day at some point have to play bigger and better formed teams. We're not even going to talk about Chelsea because what's the point? I mean, they're not moving. Newcastle Fulham this weekend for that second part is going to be really interesting, really great because if they have to win this one, now Kieran Trippier is not going to play one of their important players, so they have to win that one, and then they can climb up some points. So who did Tottenham play? Tottenham played Nottingham Forest. Um, that's going to be a tough match away. Nottingham Forest is a tough customer, a tough crowd, and 100% is going to be tough um, because they're playing away. Tottenham is a decent team, but they're not as great as some people might say they are. They just won their first match in over 5 matches, 6 matches. So, and they beat a depleted Newcastle team that's not their fault. It's the manager's, it's Eddie Howe's fault. But regardless, uh, you know, if they play at St. James's Park, you might say that the result might get inverted. You see what I'm saying? Like it's not. So I think that's going to be a tough match. So if for some odd reason Tottenham lose, not odd reason could happen. They lose to Nottingham Forest with 14 points, then they stay at 30. If Newcastle beats Fulham, they go to 29, right behind Tottenham. And if Liverpool loses against or Liverpool wins against against United, what is actually it can't happen. You very listen. I know that I'm the first one to say these matches are different. They're derbies. Doesn't really matter how you show up, how you've been this season. It's about you and I looking eye to eye and going at it bare hands, derby type style, and I do believe in that. But you still have to take in consideration that Manchester United is a bad team, and but they've been getting their points, and so that's the thing. They get their points. So if Liverpool wins and United loses and Tottenham loses, Newcastle goes past Manchester United to 29 and just 1 point behind Tottenham. If Tottenham wins, they go to 33, tying with Manchester City. And so who did City play? City play Crystal Palace. Oh, that should be an easy kill. With all due respect to my Palace people, but that should be an easy kill. But City has been proving that these matches are not easy for them. You know what I mean? They're not as easy. Look at what they did. What happened with Luton Town? Even though Luton Town is making all these teams suffer uh, at home, but yeah, I mean that those bottom five, any position is up for grabs. You know, and Brighton plays. Who did Brighton play? Arsenal. Yeah, so they play Arsenal, and so that could be a loss. And then West Ham might win. Who do West Ham win? The West Ham plays. Where's West Ham? Oh my god! Oh, they play Wolves, so they could lose that one too. So, yeah, but we'll see what happens on that one. But the ones that are fighting, there's a group of five, but then you can reduce it to a group of four. It's to the teams that are really going to be fighting each other: Aston Villa, United, Newcastle, and Tottenham. Right there, fighting with each other, clashing. But yeah, this could get really, really interesting, folks. P. Morton says Villa has more points at this date than Leicester had the season they won the Premier League. That's a great that's a great data. That's a great point. Um, I just don't know. It remind me as to how that league went. It's been a while, but I don't necessarily. I don't think Arsenal were fighting for the league. I don't think that Manchester United was fighting for the league. I don't think. Let me Google it, because that's a great point you bring up. And Girona has been doing the same thing at La Liga. Let me see. When did they win? Let me see. Leicester City. When did they win the Premier League? Number one. That's one important thing. They won the Premier League. Let me go to honors. So they won the Premier League in 2015-16. 2015-16. So I'm gonna go to the Premier League. I'm gonna go to the Premier League. 2015-16 standings. 15-16. Wow, it's been that long. Okay, so right here. Oh, look at that. Arsenal was fighting for the title. Oh, not really. Not really. 71 points. See, this is the thing. And it's because of Leicester. Obviously, they're it's because of what they did as well. Leicester got 81 points. Wow. 81 points. Arsenal second. It looks like they were fighting for it, but they were 71 points. 10 points away from that's crazy, man. 71 points from Leicester. Tottenham right there was right behind them with 70 points. But look at the last matches for Tottenham. Cost them the two draws, two losses back to back. If not, if they won all these six, I mean, they would have been up there with Leicester. Tottenham bottled that one, big time. They would have won their first Premier League. I don't think they won a Premier League before. Maybe if they have, it's been a long time ago. That would have been theirs. And I actually remember people saying, it was theirs to grab, but they didn't make it happen. So Manchester City, 66 points. You see that? They weren't even in the fight. None of these teams really were in the fight, other than Tottenham to a certain extent, because Arsenal did decent to be able to try to catch up, but of course, not happening. But Tottenham bottled the last four matches, so United wasn't up there fighting. Look at Southampton, West Ham, Liverpool. Oh my God, Liverpool. Yeah, not even in the question. Chelsea 10th. My goodness gracious. And Newcastle relegated. We relegated that season. Yeah. So look at Sunderland. Last time we were in the same league, man. That's probably must have been the last time we were in the league together. But yeah, would you look at that? Leicester killed that one. But see, it wasn't a mix like this one. In this season, there's too many top teams with money, top players are fighting for it. I think Old Man Roy can hold Man City to a draw. Yeah, 100%. He's a great manager, man, an old timer. That guy. Roy. So look, it's up for grabs, but it was nice to be able to look at the table and kind of see how things are going. And I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I divide the first eight teams into two. Um, The first three: Liverpool, Arsenal, City, and then the next group is going to be Aston Villa, Tottenham, Manchester United, Newcastle. You can put Brighton or West Ham, however whoever makes it. But I think it's going to be that. I don't think, to be fair with you, I don't think Tottenham is this team that people uh, think everybody is better than most. I don't think that's the case. I think that they are at their level, and their level is competing with Newcastle, Manchester United, and Aston Villa. You know what I mean? I think that this just that's everybody's level right there. You can't judge Newcastle saying that they're not as good as Tottenham or as good as Aston Villa if they don't play the same games, week after week, and they haven't. Newcastle has played a lot more games, a lot more minutes. So now, sort of, kind of, the things have slowed down. You can you can see how now that Newcastle is not going to be in the Champions League, you can see how that's how they pair with each other. Also, Newcastle has the Carabao Cup, so we'll see how they react to that. I think that that should be a goal for Newcastle, and also finishing fourth, fifth, sixth for Newcastle, getting the Carabao Cup. That's going to be great. Big up to Lewis as well. That says I'm a little bit gutted. Yeah, 100%, man. You a Newcastle fan, so it haven't hasn't been a really great time yesterday. There were mistakes by the manager, and and to be fair with you, also that one match against PSG comes back and haunts you. You know what I mean? Because technically, should have won that one. That's my honest opinion. Technically, Newcastle should have won that one. Look, we're gonna call it off because I have to go to work. I appreciate everybody coming on. Pete, Morton, Lewis, Jessica, everybody for commenting. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Um, Listen, we're gonna keep being live. Let me know if this time works for you because I would like to get you on. Uh, Important says money ain't helping Chelsea, United, or Everton. May mess around and let Fulham qualify outright for the Europa League. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Amen. Big up to everybody. Thank you so much. By the way, if you are a Newcastle fan or if you like me and you just want to support the other channel, on the American, there's a channel called the American Magpie. That's my secondary channel. I just talk about Newcastle United, and we're going to do a match review today at 10 p.m. UK, 4 p.m. United States time. So I appreciate everybody. P. Morton, thank you, brother. The link is in the description below. The American Magpie YouTube channel, if you would just want to support. Yes, if we won against PSG, we would have been in the last 16 of the chip. Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. I appreciate everybody. And then again, smash the like button, share with all your English Premier League addicts. This channel, Top FC TV, we have good things coming up. So appreciate you, and then we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.